Something has hit me for a while with you in particular.
Yeah.
Your political hero is Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bobby, what would Bobby do? Bobby ran. Bobby ran.
Yeah.
He did it. Now, you could argue that he waited for somebody else to prove LBJ was vulnerable before jumping in. We could debate the particulars of when. If you're going to go bold, sometimes you go when everybody tells you not to go.
Yes, Chunk Todd with California Governor Gavin Newsom. Hey, do what Bobby Kennedy did. What could go wrong? Of course, he left out that Bobby Kennedy was shot in the head and killed by Sirhan Sirhan, who was granted parole by the California Parole Board recently. Still waiting for Gavin Newsom to sign the paper to let him out of jail. That didn't come up in Chunk's discussion with Mr. Toothpaste. The American political universe is a crazy place. Completely nuts. And Chunk Todd is just a small part of that. Encouraging Gavin Newsom to run against Joe Biden? But why, Chunk? Yesterday was Chunk's last day as host of Meet the Press. And, he proved every week for years why he didn't deserve that job, shouldn't have had that job. He's not a journalist. He's a Democrat Party apparatchik, as are so many network news anchors across the media spectrum. It is a spectrum, right? It's like gender to Democrats. They think that's a spectrum. But never mind that. And Gavin Newsom was just blushing like, oh, shucks, and on a turned heel like a high school girl. Well, Bobby Kennedy ran, even though, and then he was shot in the head and assassinated, but maybe it wouldn't follow that playbook. Maybe it'd be something different altogether. Well. Happy Monday to you, and today is, of course, September 11th of 2023, 22 years after the attacks of the radical Islamic jihadis, Al-Qaeda, that attacked the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and technically a D.C. mailing address, and also the plane that went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the mass murder that launched us into the war that will never end because, how do you beat an idea? Well, I'll give you a couple of clues, a couple of hints. Here's how you start. You go kill the bad guys. But setting that aside, there's a lot to get to. I want to get to Joe Biden in Hanoi, Vietnam, because he is apparently the president of the United States. And he went to the G20 summit in India with leaders of many of the world's big economies, excluding China and Russia. Putin he's busy waging a land war in Europe. And Joe Biden is busy ignoring it, although sending tens of billions of dollars to the people that gave his family millions and millions of dollars. Pay no attention to any of that. No quid pro quo here. Nothing to see here. And he was kind of an embarrassment at the G20, and it was pretty much closed to the press. And the White House, the President of the United States, they can snap their fingers, wave their hand, and say, no, we're going to open these events to the press. Prime Minister Modi of India there is taking the blame, taking the fall for so many of the events that would normally be open to the press being closed to the press in India for the G20 summit. And it was an inconsequential summit. They talked about the weather. Hey, weather's kooky, huh? Yeah, sure. When are we going to do something about it? Well, I don't know. The United States has reduced our carbon output by 20%, and our particulate pollutants have been cut to almost nothing. But pay no attention to any of that. And don't take credit where credit is due, because Joe Biden, God forbid, would never do that, never take credit for the United States of America for the good stuff that we're doing and the great record that we have on this, because they're always kind of a, glass is half empty with flaming death gel kind of people, apocalyptic death cult. And Joe Biden said that the climate change, if you're a denier, well, it's like comparison to Holocaust denier, right? that you're lying dog-faced pony soldier. He said it again in Hanoi. The Vietnamese were looking at him like, is this guy for real? And sadly, he is, apparently. So Joe Biden said a lot of crazy stuff. He left the G20 summit in New Delhi, India, flew to Hanoi, Vietnam, where he seemed to be right at home, didn't he? And he held something of a press conference that was an embarrassment. And he explained that he's only allowed to take 5 questions, and they tell him who to call on. And, call on the Voice of America. Call on who did he call on? Probably NPR or something. Democrat Party fluffers in the White House press corps traveling along. And Joe Biden just embarrassed himself all over the place. And I want to play audio for you of Joe Biden in Hanoi, Vietnam, embarrassing himself to the point where I honestly, and this is not hyperbolic, I honestly believe it's time for the Democrat Party and certainly for Republicans to start demanding that Joe Biden step down as president. It's time that he steps aside. He is not up to the task of representing us in Hanoi or in New Delhi or in Washington, D.C. And he's not going to be representing us at the Ground Zero location in Lower Manhattan today. He's not going to be representing us at the Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia today. Dr. Jill is going to go and lay a wreath there. She's not a doctor. Or is she? Because she had the Wuhan. She had the Wuhan Red Death. So I'm not sure, but she's scheduled at least to go there. And Shanksville. So Joe Biden is going to be at Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska for a quick stop. It's a refueling stop. And that's where the White House says he's going to be observing the attacks of September 11th, 2001. The remembrance will be in Alaska, 4 hours away from the East Coast, and on the clock. That's a lot longer than that flying. Now, he could have scheduled the stop in Vietnam for the front end of the G20 summit, knock that out, go to G20, be back in plenty of time for September 11th, but no. Could have left Hanoi, Vietnam, 10 hours earlier and made it back in time. Didn't. And it's the first time since the attacks of September 11th, the following year, 2002, of course, President Bush, remembrance ceremonies and so on. And every year since, until now, and Joe Biden is breaking that tradition because, he's not really on our side, is he? No, he's not. No. So I want to get into that. Yes, sir. And before we do, my best girl and I, we had a great weekend. We were invited to go to Winchester, Virginia, beautiful Winchester, Virginia, about an hour and a half to the west of Washington, D.C. And we drove out there on Saturday, and we met up with our friends who are involved with the Republican Party there, and we went to an event. We were invited to an event, and it was a great event at a winery in Virginia with a great owner, wonderful people, and we had a nice. It was a bit of a fundraiser for the Republican Party of Winchester, Virginia, and it went very, very well. It was a very nice thing, and our friends Greg Price and Brent Woodall invited us out, and we went and hung out with them at Greg's house a bit first, and then we went to this wonderful winery, and we had a great time with. It was only about 80 people or so for the fundraiser, and it was a great event on Saturday night, and everybody was great. I believe I met everybody there and talked to everybody there, and it was just a great event that where everyone had fun. And then it started raining house pets, and that was kind of fun too. But wonderful winery, and I want to share a little bit more about that later on. And I have a nice framed item here with my name, Chris Plant, hereby recognized as a true friend of the Winchester Republican Committee. Thank you, I think. And I thank you. It was a great weekend. And then, so Saturday night, and then we went into town in Winchester and had dinner at a great place. And although my friends with Violino were not there, the nice Italian family runs the Italian restaurant Violino in Winchester. They're in Italy now. The whole family's in Italy. Got to go back and hit refresh every now and then in Italy. So wasn't able to go to my favorite Italian restaurant there, but we went to another great place. And then yesterday, my best girl found a section of the Appalachian Trail in Virginia that we went and hiked about 4.5 or 5 miles, I think, of the Appalachian Trail. My trail name was the Governor, but that's how we went and hiked yesterday, and then came back into D.C. and we beat the rain and had a great weekend. And I want to thank the great people in Winchester and the Republican committee in Winchester for the event. It was great. It was wonderful. It certainly was. Yes, it was. Thank you very much. Yeah, a little more about that. And we were talking over the weekend as well, my best girl and I. And she was reading something. We spent a lot of time in the car, more than we usually do anyway, coming back and forth and stopping places. So a couple of hours there, a couple of hours back because of the way we went, the more scenic route and all that. But we were talking, my best girl is reading to me from something, that internet. You heard of that? That's a lot of stuff out there. And my best girl is reading me about going to the grocery store. And I had a funny thing she shared with me. She said, you go to the grocery store and you buy a loaf of bread, which is in a plastic bag. You buy some sliced turkey breast at the deli counter, and they put it in a plastic bag. You get your carton of eggs, a dozen eggs, and it comes in this molded plastic. The eggs come in this molded plastic thing. Might be the styrofoam thing too, which but the plastic molded egg carton. Then you get a half gallon of milk, and that's in a plastic. It's in a plastic Judge Red. You get an 8-pack of Dr. Pepper in the bottles, the 16-ounce bottles, and they're all plastic bottles, 8 plastic bottles. Right? And then you got the plastic loops that hold the group of 8 bottles together, right? And then you get your napkins wrapped in a plastic wrapper and paper towels wrapped in plastic. Then you get to the cashier, and they charge you 5 cents for the plastic bag because they're saving the environment. That makes good sense, doesn't it? And here's the thing. The store doesn't get the 5 cents. The government does. Mr. Charlie gets the 5 cents for the plastic bag because they're saving the planet. They're saving the environment. But everything in your plastic bag is wrapped in plastic. And somehow the bag is the culprit here. And they charge you 5 cents for that, but it doesn't go to the store or to the plastic bag manufacturer. It goes to the government because, it's a shakedown. That's the thing about that. It's a shakedown. But da-da-da. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, so that's kind of fun. And the government gets it. Why does the government get that 5 cents? They're going to charge you 5 cents for the bag, but not for all the other plastic that you're taking home with you in the plastic bag that they're charging you 5 cents for, that the government gets, but not the manufacturer of the plastic bag. I think the store probably pays less than a penny per bag because they mass-produce the heck out of them, probably with Chinese slave labor. And that makes sense to someone. That makes good sense. A little driving conversation with my best girl and I yesterday. All right, I'm going to get to Joe Biden in Hanoi in a couple of minutes, proving, I think, that it's time that it's time for him to step down. He's got to step down as president. And then Kamala will be the president, and she'll be the deer in the headlights. And the Democrats don't want this, but that's why Chunk Todd was pushing California Governor Gavin Newsom to jump into the race, because Chunk is a Democrat Party apparatchik, and here they are strategizing out in the light of day with Gavin Newsom. Oh, you need to do what Bobby Kennedy did. Maybe not the best analogy, given the way that came out. President Joe Biden's plan to introduce the digital dollar and inflict it upon all of us is already underway. It's very important to understand the potential consequences because, contrary to what they're telling us, this initiative is not in your best interest or mine, and time is of the essence So getting smart now is a really good idea if you want to protect your financial future. You can help protect your savings from the risks of the digital dollar by diversifying with IRAs in gold and silver. Time to call the experts at American Alternative Assets today at 888-4-GOLD-20. The number 4, the word gold, 20. That's 888-446-5320. You're going to get all the guidance you need to safeguard your retirement savings. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Call American Alternative Assets at 888-4-GOLD-20. 888-446-5320. Call them today. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah, but it's 5 cents for the plastic bag. Sorry, what? Sure. That makes good sense. All right, Joe Biden still coming up. Poll numbers. Time for him to go. Mayhem in Chicago. And more Democrat crazy news coming up. Hey, it's Chris Plant. Excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Yes, Joe Biden coming up, and your Washington Post with, as is so often the case, a couple of gems today. Democrat in New Mexico suspends the Second Amendment because she was in a mood, something like that. And before we get to Joe Biden, let's go back to the phones, Michael. Let's go to Tyler calling from Martinsburg, West Virginia. Tyler, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Mr. Plant, how you doing?
Very well, Tyler. Thank you.
Hey, good to talk to you again. Hey, I was just wondering if I pay an extra 5 cents if I can get a real straw again instead of one of those stupid paper straws that disintegrate every time I use them.
If you give them the idea, they might take you up on that. They might start charging 5 cents for everything you buy in plastic too, because it's all about the shakedown. And I don't know if you saw this, Tyler. I talked about this a week or 2 weeks ago. A study came out that found that the paper straws are actually more damaging to the environment than the plastic straws.
I believe that. And also, the paper straws come wrapped in plastic.
That's exactly right. They do. The paper straws come wrapped, for sanitary reasons. And there's literally a scientific study that the paper straws, because what they're used to bind them or something, that the paper straws are more environmentally damaging, less environmentally friendly than the plastic straws, which the left is trying hard to ban because of that picture. You remember that picture of the cocaine-addicted turtle? That turtle with the straw stuck in its nose. We think Hunter Biden did that. He was at a Hunter Biden party. And my friend Brian texted me during the break, said he went into a grocery store recently and they didn't have plastic bags. They had paper bags. They said, we can sell you a paper bag for 5 cents. And he said, well, I'd like a plastic bag. And, from my 5 cents, said, we don't have plastic bags. And Brian said, yes, you do. And the store guy said, no, sir, we don't. And he said, you have hefty bags. Bada boom. See, you sell those. You sell these, 50-gallon. Those things will last like, they have a half-life of uranium, those big hefty bags. And they sell those. But this is liberalism in a nutshell. How did it get in that nutshell? Man, that's crazy. And a sign seen in a front yard in the Washington, D.C. area, big sign, big banner, the size of a small automobile. Hunter Biden is proof that no gun law will keep a gun out of a criminal's hand. Bada boom, see? No gun law will keep a gun out. Hunter Biden is proof of that. That's kind of fun. That's good stuff. Yes, sir. All right, let's get to Joe Biden because, he's Joe Biden. Joe Biden. and too many stories to get to. I'll see what I can do. Here is, there are a couple of different versions of the story that I grabbed, but the Portland Tribune has the headline, Nike closing landmark MLK Jr. Boulevard store because of crime. That's the Portland Tribune in Portland, Oregon. Nike, and they're from that neck of the woods, right? Nike, those Nike people. And Portland has committed suicide. They got into a tub and opened a vein like Frankie Five Angels in The Godfather. Nike confirmed on Friday it is permanently closing its flagship store on Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. KOIN, K-O-I-N 6 News, the TV station out there, confirmed the closure. On the afternoon of September 8th, the closure comes months after Nike requested a security partnership with the city of Portland because of crime in the area. Portland, Oregon. Thank you. There are a lot of Democrats. There's a lot of crime. In February, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, who's a radical left-wing extremist nutcase, announced he would increase patrols in the area as Nike reopened the store. But the store on Martin Luther King Boulevard remained closed for months. Nike officials told KOIN News that they are, I love this, reimagining its retail spaces. They're going to reimagine, and it's going to be safe this time in their imagination. And considering some future locations as part of a revitalization plan. But here's the thing about this. It's crime and mayhem. The Post-Millennia has the kind of the better right through on it. The post-millennial people, you know them. Nike permanently closes iconic Portland store amid, quote, theft and safety issues, end quote. It looks like it's game over, is the sub-headline. And this radical left-wing mayor who's pro-crime and pro-criminal. Nike has officially closed an iconic Portland store due to the city's rampant crime and retail theft. This after the athletic shoe giant had hoped to reopen its location on Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard after making the decision to temporarily close the store earlier this year. In February, Nike went to great lengths to try to salvage its Martin Luther King community store and sent a letter to Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, city officials, and asking for more police presence to combat the ongoing retail theft. The company was open to creating an intergovernmental agreement because they're lefties. They think that'd do it. Then they learned what really goes on. With the city of Portland to directly fund full-time police officers. They would pay for the police officers who would be selected to police the store, or they would pay off-duty police bureau officers as contracted security. But none of that worked out because Ted Wheeler is a radical leftist. The request was denied by the city due to the police department's detrimental staffing crisis. And that's because of Democrats. They've demonized the police, and people are retiring from police and resigning from police departments, rather. And you can't get new recruits to sign up because Democrats, are they all criminals, Michael? I mean, it's a legitimate question. Kind of amazing stuff. But the crime, the theft, so rampant that they had to close down the store. In Portland, this is not New York City, it's not the South Bronx, it's not Detroit, it's Portland, because the Democrats are like a disease that is everywhere. They're like a sexually transmitted disease, aren't they? Is it STD or STI? Because they keep going back and forth on that. But, and the store is trying to sound all liberal-minded and, hey, we're back to our roots and we want to be inclusive. And, they're being robbed blind, so they had to shut down their flagship store. Now, again, Whole Foods shut down their flagship store in San Francisco. Nordstrom shut down their two stores in San Francisco, Nordstrom big department store and Nordstrom Rack, where you get the cheaper stuff. And I had to close them down because Democrats and crime, and because their political leaders are pro-crime and pro-criminal. Nike had to close it, they said, because a safe and secure workplace is essential for our employees, customers, and communities. Sure. We have proposed a sustained and coordinated partnership with the city to better protect employees, consumers, and the community. They love that word. Surrounding our MLK community store. Keep using the word community. But they've been robbed blind so constantly. And then, of course, Democrats say, well, you can't interfere with shoplifters just because they're robbing you blind, because we'll put you in jail if you interfere with the crime. It's their kids committing the crimes. It's the Democrat Party. Now, speaking of dumb Democrats and dumb Democrat ideas, so much crime, so much shoplifting, so much mayhem, danger to their employees and to their customers. Had to close it. Now there's a shoe desert there. You got a shoe desert, and they're going to blame Nike because they're Democrats. They never take responsibility for anything. They don't have to. Don't you know there? All right, let's go to Joe Biden. Joe Biden was in Hanoi, Vietnam, the communist capital of modern Vietnam, and he was meeting with the communists. And then he held what was supposed to be a press conference, and he said out loud that he is only allowed to take 5 questions, and they told him who to take the questions from the Reuters news agency, Bloomberg, Agence France Presse, AFP, and then the BBC, which is British, and AFP is theoretically French, but it's global, and then VOA, the Voice of America. And that was it. And then he had to go, because he had to go sleepy time. It was bedtime. He had to get some porridge. They brought a VHS tape with an episode of Hazel. And here is Joe Biden saying that really the greatest danger facing all of humanity is climate change. He didn't say that the U.S. had cut our CO2 output by 20%. He didn't say that because he never gives us props, never promotes the United States of America. But here's Joe Biden talking about climate change, and we'll start with number 1. I know he kind of backs into it, but Joe Biden whipped out one of his old crazy lines about lion dog-faced pony soldiers. If you don't believe global warming like he does, then you're a lion dog-faced pony soldier.
My brother loves having there's famous lines from movies that he always quotes.
It's not famous.
One of them is there's a movie about John Wayne. He's an Indian scout.
He's an Indian scout.
They're trying to get I think it was the Apache, one of the great tribes of America, back on the reservation, and he's standing with the Unions. So they're all on their horses and their saddles. What? And
this is Vietnam.
3 or 4 Indians in headdresses, and the Union soldiers. The Union soldiers basically saying, the Indians, come with me, we'll take care of you, everything will be good. And the Indian looks at John Wayne and points to the Union soldier and says, he's a lion dog-faced pony soldier. Well, there's a lot of lion dog-faced pony soldiers out there about global warming, but not anymore. All of a sudden,
well, there are.
Realizing it's a problem. It's a problem. And there's nothing like seeing the light.
He's whispering. He's making up this lion dog-faced pony soldier thing again. His brother. He was expecting a laugh. He didn't get one. Please laugh. Please clap. I don't believe the movie line actually exists anywhere. I believe it's been fact-checked and people have looked for this line and that it was never uttered, but he continues. And again, he's in Vietnam, and he sounded like he was falling asleep. And then he started whispering, and he was standing there holding onto the podium with both hands. And honestly, Joe Biden, he's president of the United States, lion, dog, face, pony soldier, climate change. And in the telling of this story, he said there are a lot of people out there that still deny climate change and they're lion, dog, face, pony soldiers. And then he said that there aren't a lot of people out there because he had forgotten what he had just said moments before. But pay no attention to that. And then here comes climate change, which, you may think that nuclear apocalypse would be a bad thing, whether in the hands of the Iranians or the communist Vladimir Putin in communist Russia, or maybe the Chinese communists or the North Korean communists, or, these are the people threatening to annihilate the world with nuclear attack. But here's Joe Biden. He knows these people are really concerned about the weather. You know, I'm always reminded of Katie Porter. The earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon, as Democrat Congresswoman from California, Katie Porter explained. That's what her daughter said, her 9-year-old daughter. The earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon. And here's Joe Biden on nuclear war versus, a 1.5 degree increase in the global temperature.
There's more carbon observed from the air into the Amazon region, into the ground, than admitted in the entire United States on the same basis. Now imagine if people go in and do what we did 250 years ago and cut down the forest and start farming in that area. No longer have that great carbon sink. It would be a gigantic problem. So we should be going to areas, whether it's in the Congo or other places, as the G7 nations and the wealthy G20 nations, and providing the kind of infrastructure they need to be able to benefit. And guess what? In addition to helping the environment overall, and the only existential threat humanity faces, even more frightening than a nuclear war,
here it
is global warming going above 1.5 degrees in the next 10 years. And it'd be real trouble. There's no way back from that.
There's no way back from that. Forget about nuclear apocalypse, nuclear war, nuclear weapons, city busters blowing up major cities. Forget about that. There's no way back from that. And I read to you last week from the Environmental Protection Agency's own website, the EPA, saying that the United States of America has reduced our CO2 output by 20%. And he never mentions that because that would be a point in our favor, and he's not on our side. But that's Joe Biden. And, forget about nuclear bombs, nuclear war. And again, the Obama-Biden administration gave a green light to Iran spinning centrifuges and enriching uranium and advancing their ballistic missile program unimpeded and uninspected. But Joe Biden didn't get anything that might, reflect well on the United States, be a model for other countries, because he is, he's Joe Biden. Now, here he is. He's been told he can only take 5 questions because people tell him where to stand, how to walk. Here's the list of people that will offer their friendly questions. And Joe Biden.
Now I will take your questions. Let me see. They told me they gave me 5 people here.
They told me 5 people here.
Dita of Reuters.
Dita of Reuters. And then we're going to get into the press conference because he is Joe Biden. And this press conference, this should be called the Step Down press conference. It should be given a name. This is the press conference that led to Joe Biden stepping down as president of the United States. He's going to have to fake that illness that he talked about a couple of years ago. Hey, do you have odors in your home you just can't get rid of? You've tried. Well, now you can get rid of any stinky odor with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. I have 2 of them. The Thunderstorm gets rid of strong odors from cooking, cigarette smoke, litter boxes, trash cans. Even leftists are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The Thunderstorm starts working in a matter of seconds. Clear any room of any odor. And big news here, there are no filters to buy on a schedule and mail away for. Go to Home Depot to replace again and again. No, sir. More than 350,000 Thunderstorms sold. Thousands of 5-star reviews online, glowing reviews. It works like a champ. And during this week, I've got a great deal for you to get your own Thunderstorms. Right now, you can save $200 on 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms for a whole home protection. Put one in the teenager's room, put one in your office, bring one to work. That's 3 units for under $200. You just go to EdenPureDeals.com on Al Gore's amazing internet. Enter the discount code Chris. That's me. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris, and you get free shipping. Yeah, Joe Biden press conference. the step-down press conference. That's coming. Then he wanders off like a jellyfish. I want to play it for you. Stay right there. And on this anniversary of the 2001 attacks on September 11th, it's also important to remember, and we have our brilliant and patriotic listeners bringing this up with us also. Got to remember September 11th, 2012, the Benghazi attacks, again by radical Islamic jihadi troglodytes from hell. And they murdered the U.S. ambassador to Libya, Christopher Stevens, and another State Department information officer, Sean Smith. And they murdered two great American warriors who at this point in their career were CIA operatives and in Libya on a mission. Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods. Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods, both of them were had been Navy SEALs and then left the Navy, went to work for CIA, and they were assigned to Libya, and we still don't know everything about all that, but you may remember that's when Hillary Clinton, this murder happened, and the Obama administration didn't send in people to respond to all of this, and Hillary Clinton famously blew it off with this.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
She was, of course, the Secretary of State at the time, and our ambassador was one of the people murdered, and another State Department employee. And then 2 great Americans, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, were murdered that day, too. They did not go out quietly. And that 2012, the Obama-Biden administration and Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, our chief diplomat. And what difference at this point does it make? Another event to be remembered on this date, and another comment to be remembered about Hillary Clinton and, who these Democrats are. More Joe Biden coming up.